When you look at the global plastic problem, it's easy to feel, well, pretty overwhelmed, right? But what if I told you that hiding inside that massive environmental crisis is a real, profitable, and totally tangible business opportunity? Okay, let's dive into this blueprint for turning something we all see as waste into some serious profit.
So first things first, we got to understand the scale of the problem, because it's that incredible scale that actually creates the whole business case. We're not just talking about cleaning up the planet here, we're talking about sourcing a raw material that is, frankly, everywhere. Get this, every single year, a staggering 3.5 million tons of plastic waste gets generated. Just think about that for a second. That is an enormous, constantly refreshing pool of raw material just sitting there, waiting for someone to collect it and give it a new life. But here's the real kicker, the part where the business opportunity really opens up. A full 40% of all that plastic waste doesn't even make it into a proper recycling stream. It's just out there, polluting our environment. For an entrepreneur, that 40%, that's a massive, completely untapped resource.
So this is really the core question of this whole explainer, isn't it? When you see those numbers, do you see an impossible crisis, or do you see a gap in the market, a chance to build a real business that tackles this environmental challenge head-on?
Okay, so how do you actually do it? Let's get into the practical blueprint. We're going to walk through how you take a pile of plastic scrap and turn it into a high-demand, saleable product. We're about to demystify this whole industrial process step by step.
All right, a really crucial point for success here is focus. You can't recycle everything at once. This business model hones in on two of the most common plastics out there, HDPE, that's high-density polyethylene, and LDPE, which is low-density. You see these literally everywhere. Think milk jugs, shampoo bottles, those plastic films on packaging. By focusing on just these two, you can totally streamline your process and make sure your final product is top-notch quality.
So how does this transformation actually happen? Well, it's a pretty clear 7-step journey. First up, step 1 is collection. You've got to source that raw plastic scrap. Then, step 2 is sorting, and this is key for quality control, separating out the HDPE and LDPE you want. In step 3, you've got washing and drying to get rid of all the gunk, dust, labels, oils. Next, step 4 is grinding, where big pieces get chopped down into small, easy-to-handle flakes. Step 5 is mixing, which creates a really uniform blend for consistent quality. Then comes the magic. Step 6 is extrusion. This is where the plastic gets melted down and formed into these long, spaghetti-like strands. And finally, step 7, granulation, where those strands are cut into the final product, the little pellets or granules, all ready to be packaged up and sold.
Okay, so what does a plant like this actually need to operate? I mean, we're talking about a serious setup here. You're going to need a good bit of space, about 6,000 to 7,000 square feet. You'll need a pretty hefty power connection and a team of about 8 to 10 people to run the whole show, from sorting by hand to operating the machinery. This really makes the whole idea feel concrete, doesn't it?
So we've covered the problem, and we've walked through the process. Now for the part everyone's been waiting for, does it actually make financial sense? Let's run the numbers and see what the path to profitability really looks like. To get this whole thing off the ground, the heart of your investment is going to be the machinery. The grinder, the extruder, the washer. You're looking at an upfront capital cost of around $45,000 to $50,000. Yeah, it's a significant chunk of change, but this is the industrial engine that's going to drive your entire business.
Now, what about the month-to-month costs? Well, your biggest single expense by a long shot is going to be buying the raw plastic scrap. After that, you've got power and salaries for your team. All in, you can expect your monthly operating expenses to land right around $35,000.
Okay, so you've got those costs, but what's the potential upside? Based on some pretty conservative estimates, we're talking running the plant just 10 hours a day, 25 days a month, you could produce and sell enough recycled granules to bring in over $46,000 in monthly revenue.
And here it is, the bottom line. After you've paid for your raw materials, your electricity, your staff, and all your other expenses, you are left with a net monthly profit of over $11,000. That number, right there, is what turns this really cool environmental idea into a seriously viable business.
So, making a profit sounds great, but it all comes down to one really critical question. Who's actually going to buy your recycled granules? The good news is, the demand is incredibly strong, and it's really diverse. Let's take a look at where your final product actually goes. your customer base is just huge. And honestly, it's growing, especially as more companies want to hit their sustainability targets by using recycled content. We're talking about big manufacturers making things like industrial pipes and tanks, packaging companies, and even agricultural businesses. Plastic molding units that bump out things like chairs and buckets are massive buyers. Plus, you can tap into modern sales channels like B2B online marketplaces to find customers all over the world.
So, as we start to wrap this all up, it becomes pretty clear that this isn't just about one kind of return. No, this is an investment that pays you back in two really powerful ways.
On the financial side, that monthly profit of over $11,000, well, that scales up to an impressive estimated annual net profit of over $133,000. That is a fantastic return on your initial investment and all your hard work. Ultimately, what we've laid out here is a blueprint for a business that does well by doing good. It's a model where your entrepreneurial drive lines up perfectly with helping the environment. It's a plan that's genuinely good for your wallet and good for the world. So the only question left is, who's ready to build it?